Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And on today's video I wanted to discuss about volume landmarks, as I've previously mentioned volume landmarks a couple times on certain videos, and one or two people had been asking me what are volume landmarks, can you do a video on this explaining about volume landmarks, how they can be beneficial, how to implement them, and I say, well, like, what are some of the considerations to take on board when it comes to volume landmarks with our training aspects and recovery modalities and recovery capabilities and performance and progression, etc, etc. So I thought I'd do a video to explain volume landmarks and get that one over and done with. So delving straight into it, let's discuss about the three volume landmarks. So we have MEV, MAV and MRV. So starting off with your MEV. Your MEV is your minimum effective volume, and this is something that I briefly discussed on the last video that I uploaded, so you can go watch that video, but like I said, this is going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. So MEV is the minimum amount of effective volume that we can do. So what I mean by this is, for argument's sake, what I'm going to say is we're just looking at one single musculature, and that's going to be chest, okay? And we're looking at 10 sets across a week. So we've got an individual who's a brand new trainee, he's a beginner, he's a novice, he's never trained before, he's stepping into the gym. We're going to put him on 10 sets across the week for just his chest. Let's say he's training 3 times a week, okay? So roughly he's going to be doing around about 3 sets per session, okay, for his chest. This is his minimum effective volume. This is the minimum amount of volume that he can do that will still create some sort of effect and a response and progress and adaptation, but it's minimal. It's absolutely minimal. Now if he did this for the longevity, the results and the progress is going to take a long time. So this is where we need to progress and increment up towards our MAV. So now we know what the MEV is. This is the minimum effective volume. So how do we work our way up to our MAV? Simple. All we have to do is each week, providing that we're keeping on point with our other variables, things like recovery, sleep, nutrition, etc, and stress levels, then each week what we can do is we can increment sets and volume. So we can accrue more sets week after week after week. So this individual, he starts off with 10 sets for chest. The next week, if everything's fine with all these other variables and he's recovering fine, we can push him up to maybe 11 sets or 12 sets and keep going up and up and up and up and up until eventually we've hit his MAV, which is now his maximum adaptive volume. So now this is the maximum amount of volume that he can do that's going to create the most significant adaptations. This is where he's going to see the most progress from this amount of volume, okay? So the MEV is literally marginal progress and adaptation. The MAV is like significant adaptations and progress. This is brilliant. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, we've now accrued 20 total sets. So across a week, this individual is doing 20 sets for his chest, okay? This is his MAV. From here, we can start accumulating more sets until we eventually get up to our MRV. The MRV is right at the top, and that stands for maximum recoverable volume. So again, hypothetically speaking, 4, 5, 6 weeks down the line, he's now up to 30 total sets. So that's 30 sets for his chest each week. This is now his maximum amount of volume that he can do and recover efficiently from prior to his next session. If he goes over this, he's exceeding his MRV, and then we start running into issues. We start having diminishing returns and he starts regressing. He's no longer progressing. The reason being is because eventually we'll get to a point there we could potentially eke out maybe another week or 2 after we've hit our MRV, with accumulating a couple more sets and a bit more volume into his training program to hit like a functional overreaching stage, which is brilliant. We want that. But if we go any further, we're now going to a state of overtraining. We do not want that, okay? So when we've exceeded our MRV, this means that this individual can't recover efficiently from that session prior to his next session. So going into his next session or the next week, he's still fatigued, his muscles may still be, you know, having DOMS issues, and they're just not fully healed and recovered to be able to go in and train at his full capacity. Strength may start diminishing, he may start accumulating niggles and injuries, and even maybe severe problems like tears of muscles, etc. So this is where we need to start looking at maybe implementing a deload when he has exceeded his MRV. Now I have done a video talking about deloads and deload paradigms, so if you want to check out that video, I'll leave the link down below. But that's just a broad spectrum of volume landmarks with an individual. So from the MEV to the MAV to the MRV. Now when we're looking at beginner trainers, their MEV to the MAV and even MRV, their window is very, very big. It's like this, okay? Because they're brand new. They don't require a large demand of output and load and challenge when it comes to creating that novel stimulus and adaptation. And again, this is something that I briefly discussed on the previous video, so I won't go into depth about it. But like I said, because they're a beginner, they don't need to overload themselves with, you know, ridiculous amount of weight. A tiny amount of weight is going to create that adaptation. It's going to create that novel stimulus. So their MEV will be here, and each week they can get away with more volume. So like I say, they get to that 20 sets. So their landmark volume window is a lot bigger in comparison to someone like an elite athlete. Why is that? So when we're looking at elite athletes, an elite athlete will probably, let's say they're doing, again, let's say 10 sets per week, yeah, but they get eventually up to their MRV. Their MRV may be something like 15 sets. Why is that? Because the load and the repetitions that they're doing on a week-to-week basis is significantly higher than that newbie, that beginner trainer. So, you know, in 1 week they're lifting, you know, enormous amount of loads and weight. And that's going to cause a lot of neural fatigue and a lot of systemic fatigue. So they're going to hit their MRV a lot sooner and a lot quicker than the beginner trainer. So they will get up to their MRV, and let's say that's 16, 18, 19 sets, okay? And they're now at their MRV. What happens there? They need to offset all that systemic fatigue, so they implement a deload phase. They try and offset all that training fatigue and some diet fatigue if they're in a dieting phase, and then they get back down to their MEV, and that MEV may be now 13 sets. But their MEV to their their MAV, they'll get back down to their MAV, and then let's say their MAV's here, but then when they start going into their next mesocycle, their MRV might be here, because again, like I said, the load aspects and the volume required for them to create that novel stimulus is significantly higher than the newbie, the beginner trainer. So they go back into the gym after their deload phase, they've entered a new mesocycle, but that doesn't mean that they start off from scratch again. They don't go back down to 100 kilo deadlift. They're still going straight back in at like 280, 290 kilos, and then they have to increment up in the load or increment up in the volume. So they're going to, you know, cause that disruption to the homeostatic system a lot quicker and more rapidly than the novice trainer. So that 1, 2, 3 extra sets that they, you know, accrue over the weeks is going to get them back up to the MRV a lot sooner than the beginner trainer. So their MAV to the MRV window is a lot smaller. So how can they find ways of, you know, improving? The only ways that they have to improve and progress forward is simply just adding more load or adding more volume. And when I say more volume, it doesn't necessarily mean sets. This is where you have to start being really meticulous and looking for other variables and other, you know, ways of trying to create more volume without overreaching or overtraining. And this is when we implement things like rest pause sets, or you know, with Jordan Peters now doing his pivotal sets, we can do muscle rounds, we can do back close sets. There's so many different paradigms that we can use here for us to be able to create more volume without overreaching or overtraining or hitting our or exceeding our MRV. So this is, I say, when you get to that elite stage, it becomes a little bit more challenging to create that novel stimulus and to try and find new ways to force an adaptation. Now, personally, one of the best ways is simply just the load. So when you get to that point when you're an elite athlete, you can't essentially keep accruing more sets week after week after week, because like I said, you're just going to hit that MRV a lot sooner. So you have to find other ways. Apart from like the rest pause sets and the pivotal sets and all those sort of aspects, we'll look at just load. We just have to add more load, because that's the only way, because we're not accruing more sets and we're not accruing more volume in terms of repetitions. We're just having to put more load onto the bar. Essentially, when you get to that stage, when you're like the elite athletes like a Jordan Peters or a Luke Sando or a Ronnie Coleman or anyone like that, they're lifting stupid pounds, stupid weight, because they got no other way. That's the only way that they're going to create that adaptation and recruit new muscle tissue, is by more load. So when you are a beginner, take full advantage of that MEV. When you're down at that MEV, that's free money. Again, this is why I said yes on the previous video, that it's free money. This is easy gains. This is where you can do the minimum amount of work and still create an adaptation and progress. So why not take advantage of that? Take advantage and eventually get up to your MAV and then to your MRV, then come back down from a deload and then restart again. But each time, take your time. Take your time with accruing sets across the week. Don't just go into a session and then just annihilate yourself in one session. This is another thing that I see often, where people don't track their volume landmarks and they don't really have like a perception of how much they can do and how much they can recover from. So what they do is, when they come off the back end of a weekend and they might have not trained on Saturday and Sunday, they feel fully refreshed and they feel energetic and ready to go on the Monday. So on that Monday session, they do whatever it is, a chest workout, a back workout, leg, whatever it is, but they do everything. They use all their resources and all their energy in that one session, and they do exercise after exercise after exercise and sets after sets after sets. By the time you get to the end of the week, by Friday, you're absolutely fucked. You're absolutely so fatigued and so drained that you can't do nothing, or you can't perform to your best abilities by Friday. So at the start of the week, you're training at your best, but then by the end of the week, it's sluggish, it's crap. You haven't eked anything out of that session. There's been no benefits given from that session because you've used all your resources and all your energy right at the beginning of the week. You have to be patient and you have to spread it out. You have to divide it up evenly across the week and track these variables and know how to monitor them, efficiently, so that they become effective week after week after week, so that you can linearly progress week after week after week. And that's the best way that you're going to see continuous progression with recruiting muscle tissue or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So don't just go into the gym and just go by how you feel. If you feel great, brilliant, train hard, but reserve some of your resources for the other sessions. It's like being stranded on a desert island and knowing that you're going to get all this food every single Monday, but that's got to last you from Monday till next Monday till you get your next load of food and resources. But that individual eats it all in that one go. It's there, it's available for you, you can do it if you want to, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday and Sunday, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be so hungry and so starving because you ate all that food on Monday. Same with your volume, same with your training. Don't use all your energy and all your resources on that one session. Spread it out. Spread it out evenly across the week and you'll see more significant benefits and progress in the longevity. So hopefully that explains a little bit more about volume landmarks, and you now have a better conception of landmarks and how to potentially monitor your capabilities in a training session and make sure that you are progressing week after week and mesocycle after mesocycle. Because at the end of the day, a saying that I always like to use is, and this is a quote from Jordan Peters, and it's not what you can do in that session, it's what you can recover from. And it's so true. Like, we can train extremely hard in one session, but if you use all those resources in that one session, will you be able to do it again on the Friday? No, because you haven't recovered efficiently from it. So don't think about what can you do there in the moment. Think about what can you recover from. So like I say, I hope this video does help explain volume landmarks a little bit better for you. If there's any other questions or anything you feel like I left out, please just drop some comments down below, or you can privately message me on my email. I'll leave that in the description, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Cheers.